And now, our feature presentation.
You are watching a master at work.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Rafael Chacín, and here are at my co-host Cian Zenith, because we are ready to the second episode of the Combat Club, which we're gonna debate and discuss all the things that UFC, boxing, also wrestling. So right now it is the perfect day to hanging out with some friends because right now is the weekend. So right now enjoy faster seatbelts because it's gonna be like a great adventure. So right now here we are with my co-host Cian Sedney because right now we're gonna discuss some of the things that happened last weekend and of course for this weekend, which is very good important for the mixed martial arts and wrestling fans like us. So are you ready for this right here, Cian? So how you feel about that?
I'm super excited to get to a wonderful weekend of sports, of combat sports. I know we just had the UFC 298 that will probably be wrapping up for you guys, giving our final thoughts on that. And then, yes, we'll be moving into the fight night, big Mexico fight court this weekend. And then we got a WWE event in Australia with Elimination Chamber. So we'll be previewing that as well. I just want to say first off, guys, we apologize for not coming to you guys live on Tuesday. So certain things came up that we had to reschedule. But going forward, as we go more and more at the show, we get more comfortable. We're gonna have a legit day where we're gonna bring you guys the show, so you guys can look forward to that. But we are gonna bring it to weekly. Right now, it may not be on the same day, but make sure you turn on that notification bell on for you never miss an episode. Let's get it.
Yeah, there you go. So right now, let's talk about for the first topic of this second episode of the Combat Club. So right now, let's talk about for Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Now, very much at all because right now we just saw what Ilia Topuria knocked out Alexander Volkanovski to become a champion for the featherweight division, and because they need like a balance stink. And people did just worry about Volk coming up for the interest fight because he was knocked out 4 months ago. Then he just went through a fight camp with his Burley. He probably sparring took him more like I was real about the ability to get shot, but I mean, this is like a two knockouts at the span of the 4 months at the age of 35. I was surprised at the combat after this because they precisely he needs like to take a mounts up but in this point the Ilia Topuria, I mean, he was just like at the top of this game right here. At the top of this game. Because nobody thought it was gonna happen for like it doesn't deserve like the attention right now. But this is like the moment that I can afford that if you can make it, you can make it all right. Because in that time at the UFC 1988 on Anaheim, California, I mean it believes that I had to go from knockout, but I think it's gonna be like a very, very similar because they just made like it just knocked out twice because it was basically like this is like the moment that we see like Ilia Topuria is basically like a superstar status. I mean, they just have it like in Spain. Some of the athletes like Iniesta, Rafael Nadal, also they just got a Paula Sol, but against it about it because how really important about the fight is became very important to Ilia Topuria, and he was that it. He was that it at all. So right now I gotta tell you for the combat between the Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria, that was like a very shocking decision, and people did just saw like a huge moment at the top of the game with Ilia Topuria, and he was calling out Conor McGregor, which may team for these fighters in Spain. So we don't know about it. So anything could happen like this one.
Yeah, I mean, like I honestly had Alex winning that fight until that knockout. I think Alex won round one, and he looked damn good doing it. I think when it came down to round two, Ilia Topuria was mostly just kind of figuring out his timing, and then when it finally came of Ilia ready to throw a combination, it hit and it hit hard, and you know he wiped the floor at Alex, and it's tough saying that being that Alex is such a tough champion, but he absolutely did. Going into the fight, Ilia was saying that he was going to do it. A lot of people, including myself, was like, "Man, this kid's pretty cocky," but his confidence was really that high. You know, when you go into a fight of that nature, you can't just go in there and throw one punch and go throw two punches and back up. You have to go and throw long standing combinations, and that was the game plan, and that's exactly what Ilya did. He ran in there, he threw I believe it was a 5-punch combination. The fourth punch landed. The fourth punch was the punch that put him out. They had five-punch combinations ready. They had 6-punch combinations ready. That's what they train. And when you go against someone of that elite magnitude like Alex Volkanovski, you have to go in there and you have to try to take his head off, and that's exactly what Ilya did. And you have to be smart about it. You can't just go in there and swing wildly. You have to be tactic about it. You have to pick your spots. You have to get the timing down, and that's exactly what he did. The first round, he got his timing down. The second round, Alex hit him, I believe, with a nice leg kick and then a jab straight up the middle or something like that. I could be mistaken. Alex pointed at him, kind of laughed. It's like, I got you. And then Ilya's like, yeah, you got me. Okay, my turn. And then when Ilya went, lights out for Alex. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. We got Robert in the house. We got Tony in the house. We got Daniel in the house. We got Navy Vet 45 in the house. Really respect you and thank you for your service, my man. But yeah, what a main event, man. What a main event. I'm happy to say now too that the UFC, we've talked about it last episode. They do have a 5-year venue contract with the Honda Center, so they're gonna appear at the Honda Center at least once a year for the next 5 years, and that's good for the fans down in Anaheim because I know they were really into it. That place was popping. You could hear it through the monitor how loud it was, and even with the co-main event, shout out to Robert Whitaker and Pablo Costa. That was such a great fight, such a fun fight to watch. And the whole card in general was really amazing. Go right back to you, Rafael.
All right, so I just wanted to tell you between the fight. I mean, they were just like in a master class of sparring, striking. I mean, they just knocked out for the became like the new UFC featherweight champion. I mean, this is like it exactly because love to see like bold, but also there was a turnover of belts we've seen lately. I mean, this like it taking a lot for a rematch of short notice. It's gonna be like a real career defining decision, and people are just hated about it. I mean, it's not about the curse strike again. It's not about for Mark Zuckerberg to strike again. But if you need a head to take a balance stance, if they had to go the hard guard boxer and totally disposal for a takedown, it's more difficult to take chicks. I mean, the physical stance that if you look at kickboxers first, I mean, it's gonna be like a take on defense, and they just need to add it as well. For the record, this is like a lack of technique of some of the UFC fighters punching. But it's not a good example, but Topuria can really punch. It really because they had to be careful about the knockouts who provides Ilya Topuria. And I will tell you, because Ilya Topuria was spending like a training, also they spend like a time for classes of sparring, striking. I mean, he's like a monster. And he represents like a new image of the featherweight championship, and he wants to take it up gold. Right now, that after he was doing like a featherweight champion, right now the next top is gonna be like who's gonna face it first, who's gonna defend his title. I mean, probably he's gonna defend against Conor McGregor if they want to go to Spain in Spain. So this is gonna be like a.
Let's talk about that for a little bit because I think Dana White said it perfectly. I think Conor McGregor's rich, and I think when Conor McGregor finally comes back, I don't think he ever fights at 145. I think there's a fight waiting for Conor McGregor when he gets back. And as much as you're the champion now, Ilya, that fight is going to Michael Chandler, and we all know it is going to Michael Chandler. If you look at the featherweight rankings right now, a lot of people will say give Alexander the rematch. I understand why you would say that, but honestly, I think Alexander needs at least 6 months out, 6 months of rest. Give Alexander the rest. I think, and this is not being biased, I think the match to make is Ilya versus Max. If Max can get through Gaethje, I think Max needs to focus on Gaethje. I think Gaethje is one of the most hardest challenges that Max has to go through. But if somehow that Max gets through Gaethje, I think you have to give Max the title shot. Just reason being is Max. If your name isn't Alexander Volkanovski or Dustin Poirier, Max had beat you in the last 10 years. It is what it is. Max beat everybody he faced in the last 10 years outside of Dustin Poirier and outside of Alexander Volkanovski. He does have also a loss to Conor McGregor early on in his career and Dennis Bermudez. I believe that's his other one. I could be wrong on that. But when you really look at it, all these number one contenders, Max beat. If you look at the top five, there's only one person in the top five that Max didn't beat, besides obviously Alexander, and that's Mozart. And I honestly think Mozart, he is another undefeated fighter, but even when you get to Mozart, even the champion said in Ilya, Mozart is on an 8-fight win streak with all decisions. Yes, he's undefeated, and yes, deservedly so of the championship, but Ilya wants him to prove something. The reason why I think they should make Ilya versus Max is because Max never got knocked out in the octagon. Max never got wobbled. Max can take a hit. And if you look at someone like Ilya that knocks people out, and you look at someone like Max that throws volume, I think that's a perfect matchup for them too. If you want me to really pick a fight, I think Max Holloway versus Ilya Topuria is the fight to make. And that's just not me being biased. I know a lot of people have the winner of your year versus Brian Ortega, being that your year is sitting at 3, Brian Ortega sitting at 4. But even that, Max embarrassed Ortega and Max beat your year. So with that, I mean, like, Max is the title shot to make. I'll understand if they don't go Max Holloway. The only option I think they don't go Max Holloway if Justin Gaethje beats Max Holloway. But I don't think that should have Max lose his spot. Max is the number one featherweight for a reason. Look what he did in his last fight out. And I think he deservedly so for the fans of the sport. You gotta give that championship to Max, regardless of what Ilya says. Now, if that is gonna be in Spain, you know, obviously they might want to look at the rematch. They want to go a big rematch in Spain versus Volkanovski. I won't oppose to that. Volkanovski is the champion. He was the champion for a very long time, and he's deservedly so. Even though he got knocked out, he's one of the best featherweights to ever do it. Give that guy a rematch, and that's me. I'll understand if they don't give him a rematch. It has to be Max Holloway, and that's what I feel about it. Go right ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, I know, because on that point for Max Holloway, I clearly understood about the point, because there's been never such a clear number 2 in the division. They really had to start to giving like Max Holloway top 5 matchups, because he bet all that up. Imagine go through Prime Mats and Prime Bowl to get a title and probably bulk again to keeping it. I mean,
wouldn't he want that on his, like, yeah, exactly. Wouldn't he want that, Ilya? Wouldn't you want a name like Max Holloway on your resume? If you knock out Max Holloway, bro, enough said. You knocked out Volkanovski, you knocked out Max Holloway right after that. That's big for your resume. Sorry about that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just crazy to just feel like at a gym you had to beat 2 top featherweights all time in a row. And it doesn't include you likely will have to be Ball again, and Holloway will probably the third defense. I mean, they just realized that I had a mistake once they're around for a loss to the division and look at stats with no challenge for Bulk. I mean, if they had her to not let Ilya fight because they just wanted a challenger and asked Mans to stop beating the challengers, I mean, beating out the second man of the division, it might be somebody to do about it, because I think it's going to be a bit somewhat out of the division, because they just had to agree to stop beating out the contenders after the third fight and somewhere over those lines, because I mean, there's going to be like a perfect gatekeeper to keep it out, to skip him, to keep it a division moving. But that's one of my opinions I could know about it. And of course, I had to want to say salute to the chat. Robert Pena, how's it going? Navy Bat, Pop Stun, Daniel Berry. Well, there's a lot of things. Much love in the chat right here. So salute to you all. All right. So after we just saw for the Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilya Topuria, right now, tomorrow, it's going to be like a big important for those combat sports fans. So first and foremost, here's an image what they're going to do. So right now, it is the Elimination Chamber before the WrestleMania, which is heading off in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, for the first time, Elimination Chamber right now are headed to Perth, Australia. Also, shout out to my brother, Alpha Kasi Raider. But right now, this is one of the most exciting fights that we're looking for. It's going to be like an Elimination Chamber for the men's, and who will reign against the best of the best. Because right now, it all works with the decisions right here. So right now, there are 6 men on the line, which is Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, and of course, last but not least, LA Knight, which are all defined for all these kind of the matches right here. But I think it's gonna happen between this one to be important because it's gonna be like an elimination chamber
No
match.
Mets in the building. What's up, No Mets?
Yes, how's it going? It's gonna be like an elimination chamber match for a War Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania. So, what are these six men's? What are the six men's will be a challenger for Seth Rollins before WrestleMania? So, it's gonna be like a huge, very important. So, right now, let's get about for the thoughts of who are the six men's could make it bigger and be like the opponent of WrestleMania along with Seth Rollins, which is gonna be like huge. And this match, which is six men's tag right here, because it's gonna be like elimination chamber for War Heavyweight Championship, who gonna face against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. So give it your thoughts about for the six men, who is gonna be reigning first, who's gonna be joining last. So anything can happen on the elimination chamber.
Yeah, I mean, like, we got an exciting one for us fans here, guys. We have all six great competitors. They all earned their spot in this match. Starting with Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, Randy Orton. You know, we got Drew McIntyre, I believe, LA Knight, and Logan Paul. Honestly, I think the person deservedly so. I think all of them. First of all of them deserves to go and fight at WrestleMania for that championship. I'm just gonna remove everybody one by one. I'm going to remove Logan Paul here because as much as I respect Logan Paul as a great competitor and as a superstar, you know, he is the United States champion and his time will come. His time will come and he just has to earn a little bit more stripes. And I think being in a match with all these other five great, talented superstars, it's just a really big salute on the WWE for Logan Paul. So even though Logan Paul may not win this match, it's a nice salute for the WWE even put him in the match. So I have to take Logan Paul out of here. I do have to take Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre out of here as well, even though I want Drew McIntyre to have a championship again and I want Bobby Lashley to kind of do his championship run again. I just don't think that's the good storyline for Seth Rollins. I could see maybe a Roman Reigns, but Seth Rollins, maybe you can draw something over Drew McIntyre. I know they have some history, but I'm looking at these other three. I'm looking at KO, I'm looking at Randy Orton, and I'm looking at LA Knight. I'm just gonna remove KO because he's a great superstar. He's one of my favorite ones to watch. But and he could easily headline WrestleMania. But at the end of the day, I'm just gonna remove him. I'm looking at Randy Orton and I'm looking at LA Knight. And the superstar that I think might come out of here victorious. They might have to do something with Randy Orton here. I could be wrong, but the reason why I'm putting LA Knight here too is LA Knight has the fans behind him. LA Knight has the pop. LA Knight is a perfect champion right now for the business. If I'm the WWE, I'm finding a way to put a championship on LA Knight. He has the crowd movement, and that's what you want. Either they boo you, either they cheer you. You want the crowd behind you. And right now, out of all these superstars, obviously Logan has his Paul's fans, and Drew McIntyre always has his fans, but when you look at all these superstars, LA Knight is the guy to put the championship on now. And I can't stop the Legend Killer. You know, the Legend Killer, they might want to finish his WWE reign on top, and I wouldn't mind that. So that's the two people I'm really looking at to win it. Is Randy Orton and LA Knight. I couldn't tell you who wins it, and I could be totally wrong. Who knows? KO could walk out with the title opportunity at WrestleMania. But those are the two people I'm really focusing on to win it. Is LA Knight and is Randy Orton. Now, who starts the match? I'm not too sure. But I just see a storyline between them two will be nice. Logan Paul, you're gonna get your opportunities eventually. But right now you're just too early on in the business.
That's right. Because on that time for the Elimination Chamber, I see very stacked car right here. I mean, there's no way out of the game later ever right now. So in the case of LA Knight, it's not like a main event right now because right now he has a lot of things to do because Drew it is. I mean, in that group was the match was the best candidate to take the title from Seth, and they just had the most to do after WrestleMania. But I think that Drew McIntyre is gonna be like a solid candidate to be like to win the Elimination Chamber for the men's. I mean, it's not gonna be like a swordness, but he has a better mic. But also, I will care because the right move it'll be like, don't be surprised. The right moves could be like LA Knight that will pop out the crowd. They're more like a fun program into a Mania. But I think it's gonna be like a great momentum. It seems like no brainer. If Drew McIntyre wins the men's chamber, Seth needs to heal, and he has a great momentum. Seems like a no brainer, but I think it's gonna be like a really spot for anything. I mean, it's gonna be like a winning of the chamber of the elimination. But I think that all it goes for it is because I see at the first of it all, because I will see love. I would love to see LA Knight pinning Logan Paul or something that earns for the United States Championship at WrestleMania. That is one of the Drew McIntyre to win because he needs to win the title that grows into obsession. And that thing that obsession has never been said makes it a very interesting story going to WrestleMania, because if we just saw like a different story right now, if Drew McIntyre wins the Elimination Chamber and he goes hunting against Seth Rollins, it was gonna be like the perfect story to end it on WrestleMania.
I could totally agree with that as well. You made a good bomb sense of that one.
Yeah, it is. But also there is like the women's championship chamber, who's gonna be like the facing off for the women's championship. So they just got Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi versus Raquel Gonzalez for elimination chamber match for a women's world championship at WrestleMania, which is totally like really insane. Because right now it's gonna happen because right now who's gonna face against Rhea Ripley? Because Rhea Ripley is right now the reigning champion of the Women's World Championship. But right now it seems like there's a lot of clause about that. So I think it's gonna happen between her because it's gonna be like it retains. But I would see that all the women's right here, Becky Lynch is gonna happen for a big momentum of the Elimination Chamber. Overall with them, again, is punching up for the ticket for WrestleMania. I think it's gonna happen because no one can see it about it, because I know Rhea Ripley is gonna retain this championship, her championship, but it's more likely it's gonna be like a Becky Lynch, but there's like the part of the scene like between Liv Morgan or Raquel Rodriguez, because that should be like a dark horse. And I think the dark horse is gonna be between Liv Morgan or Raquel Rodriguez, and it gets like a shocking wins and challenge about Rhea Ripley. So there's gonna be like a exciting moment for the wrestling fans, including for the women's chamber match.
Yeah, I mean, like you hit it on the nail. I mean, like I look at Naomi. I love her comeback at Royal Rumble, but at the end of the day, I don't think they put it immediately into a WrestleMania match. Tiffany, Raquel still earning their stripes in the business. You look at someone like Liv Morgan, could obviously be a dark horse, already earned her stripes, deservedly so of a championship match. But then you have the Man and Bianca, and I don't think you jump behind the Man and Bianca, even though a lot of people may put Liv Morgan on the same level as Becky Lynch and Bianca. I don't. I think Becky Lynch and Bianca are just light years away. I'm sorry to say this, but light years ahead of all these other superstars in the way they make the fans pop for them. And I think it either goes down to the Man or it goes to Bianca Belair. I wouldn't be surprised if the Man or Bianca Belair comes out of here the winner. And to be honest, you got some history there too. You know what I'm saying? With Bayley going after Io Sky, you got some history at both Becky versus I forget her name. I can't believe I'm forgetting her name.
Stratton?
No, homie Rhea. I'm sorry, Rhea Ripley. We got history with the Man and Rhea Ripley. So I just think that is gonna be a fun matchup. And yes, for this sideshow that is Nia Jax, I'm gonna be surprised if they do give it to Nia Jax, because that's just like stupid. Even though she's part of the bloodline, and the bloodline don't need to be that much stronger. I think this is just a sideshow. I think Rhea Ripley clearly walks out of the Elimination Chamber with the championship in her home country. Like, you don't take the championship away from Rhea Ripley at Elimination Chamber. That does not happen. I'd be super surprised if they do that. But yeah, Rhea Ripley is going to handle Nia Jax, and she'll be facing, in my opinion, either the Man or Bianca Belair at WrestleMania.
Yep, there you go. So I think it's gonna be like a really good elimination chamber, because there's between like the elimination chamber match between for the women's and the men. So it's gonna be like a reign, it's gonna be like great opponent, not only for the Women's World Championship, but also for the World Heavyweight Championship. But I think it's going to be like a really excited to watch. So I think my prediction is going to be happening between Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship, and then Seth freaking Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. So that's kind of like those are the fans who are really expected about that. But don't be surprised if anyone could have a pull a trigger and shock the entire war. So that could say it because there's a lot of favoritism on that wrestler, but if someone's pulled the trigger, it's going to happen like a great surprise who nobody expected so going to happen on the Elimination Chamber. So who knows is going to be like on this expect the unexpected on that matches right here.
I mean, like exactly the WrestleMania and Triple H and the WrestleMania heads could be like, hey, Raquel is physical, and Raquel would be a nice matchup against Rhea Ripley. And as obviously, there's a lot of fans behind Raquel, so I wouldn't be surprised. Exactly what Rafael said. If there is a surprise shocker in the women's match, because I know I just dissed these women, but all these women has been earning their stripes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And I really understand that if they're gonna be like a really get excited to see how involved about the storylines between for the men's and women's chambers match. I mean, they're gonna be like a facing up. I mean, if they're gonna have to take like a really good spot, if they had the main card slots, I will bet it hot a potato right here for a rain interference. But I would think it's not gonna be like a snore fest, but it's gonna be like a little crowd and more like the fun going into the mania. So this is gonna be like a really excited to fun to see the watch. This is gonna be like a really excited. And right now, after that, we just saw for the Elimination Chamber, which is on Saturday. So I would love to introduce because right now this is gonna be like a really excited. So I know this is gonna be like the last topic because right now we're gonna head it because not only is the Elimination Chamber on Perth, Australia. So right now it's gonna be like a fun match to watch right here. So I'm gonna send him off for the image right here. So I just wanted to let you know that you can subscribe to my channel as Rafael Chacín, as known as El Capitán Rafucho. Also, you can subscribe to my co-host on the Combat Club, which is Zenith. He provides all the great things that are about for football. And right now he's gonna do like a show on Premium Takes along with Mac, the Giants fan, Adam Costas. I mean, it's gonna be like a really excited. So right now, one of the last topics that we're talking about is gonna be like a really huge important for the rest of the bus. So I'm gonna say it because they're already heading out for the land of Mexico. So right now, it is, folks. So right now, it's gonna be like the fight night on Saturday night between the flyweight bout between Brando Moreno versus Brando Royal, and then they have Jair Rodriguez versus Ortega for the featherweight bout. So this is gonna be like the first time in Mexico City, which is really good and important for those Latin American fans. But I will say this because those both fights are getting stacked right here. Those both fights are getting really stacked because I know there's gonna be like where I had to go to the fighters right now because they just want to do something different. They just want to do something different, and he's not gonna have it display that with the behind us. But I think between those good fights right here, because I got all the decisions right here. I mean, Brando Moreno is gonna be winning by decision because over the last performance, I think it's gonna look at something like Moreno and Portoja recently fight that end up with the decision. But also for another fight, Jair Rodriguez, I would love to see him win by a knockout because in those first rounds, and I don't think that Ortega will give it out for striking like more than 25 minutes. I mean, there's nothing how to go for the stop because it doesn't allow for the two different methods of fights right here. But it's gonna be like a really possible to make it a right here. And I know it's gonna happen in this one, but I think it's gonna be like a shocking moment. And I would think that Brando Moreno to take another course against Brando Royal, and it's gonna happen like the winner decision. But don't be surprised it's gonna be happening like 5 rounds or 3 rounds. But I think it's gonna be more excited about the 2 fights between Jair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega, and then Brando Moreno versus Brando Royal, which is at Mexico City, which is the land of tacos, tequila, good mariachi. I mean, it's gonna be like a great head of the fight, great banger. So it's gonna be like a great fight for Mexico City. So, Dave, how about your thoughts about the UFC Fight Night in Mexico City, which is on Saturday night?
Absolutely, guys. I mean, like if you're gonna fight in Mexico City this day and age, you don't do it without the assassin baby, man. The assassin baby is the face of Mexico. He's not a champion no more, but Brandon Moreno, man, he's the face of all Mexican fighters, if you ask me. And then you got your Yel Rodriguez on the court as well, which is just gonna be fire in a co-main event. And honestly, don't get me wrong. As much as I respect Brandon Rovell, I just think there's levels to this game, and I just think Brandon is at a different level. You've seen Burrell in his last fight against the champion, Patoja. I'm sorry. You know, he kind of struggled there, but he did fight, and he had some promising moments. I just think it's gonna be exactly that kind of fight. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to these lower weight classes in the flyweight division and the bantamweight division and stuff, these guys are gonna go in there. They're gonna throw power. They're gonna come with speed. They're gonna come in long combinations. They're gonna hit, and they're gonna be hit. It's just gonna be fun to watch. It could go down. It can come all the way down to the judges here, or we can get a knockout maybe. But honestly, with this kind of fight, I think when it comes down to this lower classes divisions, I'm not saying Brandon doesn't have the power or Wavell doesn't have the power. I just think it is going to go down to the judges, and I believe it is going to be one-sided. I see unanimous decision for Brandon Moreno. I think his pressure is just going to be overpowering for Brandon Wavell, even though Wavell can pressure himself. I just think Brandon is gonna stuff his pressure and kind of overwhelm him with striking. Ravel's gonna get some nice shots. He's gonna land some nice shots, but at the end of the day, I see the judges swinging it to Moreno. So I got Moreno here for the victory. As far as the co-main event, this is another banger. These guys fought not too long ago. I think Yao got the best of Ortega. I don't know if there was an injury in that fight or anything like that. I didn't get a chance to miss that one. But when you look at these two fighters, they're only losing against the cream of the crop in the division, the ex-champion in Alex and Max Holloway. Those are the two best featherweights in the division right now outside of the champion in Ilya Taboria. So that being said, these are the next guys right there. They got them, you got Josh Emmett, and you got Mozov. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about it, these are the top five championship contenders, and it's hard for me, like Ralph said, it's hard for me to not pick Rodriguez. Not only is Rodriguez is going to be in a fighting in front of his home and in front of his people, but at the end of the day, I mean, like, Rodriguez has the better striker than Ortega, and he can wrestle. And that's not to take anything away from Ortega's ground game, because I think Ortega can easily catch Yair. If Yair gets I wouldn't say cocky, but if he slips up on the ground and Brian Ortega catches him, he can easily submit him. But I don't think Yair slips up. I think Yair plays the smart fight. I think he stays on the feet, and it comes down to striking. And if you ask me, Yair has the better striking. So I'm going to give the advantage to Yair Rodriguez here. I see him getting another victory and trying to stack up to fight for that featherweight championship, which I know he really wants. I know the last one was a letdown. I know he really wants it. Another fighter that I'm going to point out here, we have a lot of up and comers trying to make their names for themselves. But we got Wahil Wawosis Jr., coming out as an 8-1 dog. This guy is young, man. He has a lot to learn. But in his last fight out, he knocked the homie out real nice and fast. I believe in 54 seconds against Terrence Mitchell. Now his octagon debut, he did have a submission, and then his second fight in the octagon, he did lose. He was a big dog against Christian Rodriguez. He did lose that one in the upset, but this guy might be. He might be. I'm not saying he is. He might be the future of the sport, like your Shagwats and all your other ones, like your Ilias of the world and your Chimayas of the world and stuff. And he has a blemish on his record, but I think this is a perfect fight for him to put him against a tough competitor. And Ricky, I don't really know too much about Ricky, but I know Ricky's gonna come to fight. And that being said, this is gonna be a nice card. I know we spend a lot of time breaking down the big main event guys, but on this show, we're going to try to touch on every single core to make sure you guys get all the information you guys need. If in future fights, say like in next week fight, if there's a fighter that you guys really want us to get in depth on, make sure you guys leave a comment on this video. We'll look over that comment and we'll get to it. Back to you, Rafael.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, what it does for that fight, because what does the UFC if Royal wins? Because if Moreno wins, obviously it's gonna be obviously the rematch of Pantoja in Brazil, but it would be insane to go out with Royal, because if don't with one side
Mhm.
of the fight it is, I mean, if Moreno can take some real damage where the fight was pretty much competitive until injury, because it won't be like necessary be ready if he wins and it ends out back and forth banger, because he really had a missing weight to so badly good on this one. So I would like to see like the flyweight title picture, or even at the top of the flyweight. It doesn't consist like a rematches. It guarantee like the talent pool of flyweights so very
Yeah,
limited. So it may
yeah.
take it a while. It probably never changed because the talent pool is just there on that division. They haven't seen enough of the legit top 15 that division. I really don't think so, because all the talent that size is fighting in Asia, also in Latin America, is very important. I mean, between both fighters, between Moreno and Royo, they have entertaining styles. But
Hmm.
if they need some more fresh blood in the picture already, it feels like they're the same fighting each other repeatedly, because they was looking for Emil Albasi, even though he
I mean,
just
Abasi, that's
fight.
the next champion right there. You just dropped the bomb right there. That's the guy I was gonna bring up after your take, and I don't mean to take over, but I'm gonna let you finish. But you're exactly right. The recycle of competition in the flyweight division is gonna happen. The same people are gonna fight the same people because there's less competition. You can win 3 fights and get a title shot. In other divisions, you got homie that wasn't even offered Bahal Muhammad is on a 9 fight and he can't even get a title shot to save his life. All right. And then we got people like 3 fights and they're immediately getting a title shot. And nothing against Ravel, but you said it perfectly too. I'm going to share the screen and you can continue your point, because that's the future right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's the future of the flyweight division. And when he gets his title shot, I don't know if you want to pop that up for the people can see. When Amir gets his title shot, this guy is going to be champion. And it's just a matter of time. So all of this nice matchups we have and fun fights, I'm always going to be entertained at. But when you think about it, Amir is the next champion at flyweight. So until he gets his damn title shot, the flyweight is just going to be up in the mix.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's gonna the eager have it after do about it, because it's gonna be like a main event. And
Hmm.
trust me, I had to go, because he just spent his whole life risking it all because it's gonna be a payoff. It's gonna be like him versus the war, and he's gonna ready to prove the wrong because he's gonna dare do the job. And everybody's a Denver for the Denver, but I think gonna win. Moreno will catapult Royal back to the top of the contender rankings.
Hmm.
It will decide after another like another crack at the belt against Alessandro Pantoja, who beat Royal, but in a decision that was on December 16. So Moreno's last fight was also a loss to Pantoja, which is a split decision last summer, who take the title, who became like the first Mexican champion. And I think that Moreno beat Royal in their 2020 when Royal dislocated the shoulder the first round. So that results had the Gulf field empty, because he's been better like a shoulder injury for about a year, heading up for like a fight, and afterwards had a larger surgery. So I think it's more easier to the bird had to go for the fight 2 months ago. So it's gonna be like a really good back. So I think it's very important, but it seems that the division it needs more like very stack, more spark, and of course more intensity. But if it comes to a lot of decisions, going to make it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then we just have to take a chance here to even like as much as we respect all these other champions. Like I do kind of look over Alexandro Patoja, and I shouldn't. This guy is streaking. He literally is in his prime of his career at the age of 33. If you look at his last 5 fights, I mean, like 3 of those wins are coming against Brandon. 2 of those wins are coming against Brandon Moreno, and then 2 of those wins is coming against Brandon Rovell. I'm sorry, one of those wins against Moreno. But when you look at even Alex Perez and main Cape in that last 5, I mean, like this guy is literally beating the best in his division, and somewhat, I don't know if it's just me, but MMA fans, we just barely look at the flyweight division as barely competition. And I think that's the problem. And Mighty Mouse was champion. Mighty Mouse was such a great champion, but he didn't get the respect that he deserved because his division wasn't as great as him. It was kind of like when Ronda Rousey was running rampage through the female division. As time goes on, I just hope that more and more flyweights will show up and like Amir, Amir is the next generation. You have this guy that's I don't remember the last time this guy lost. It's been a while, you know what I'm saying? So when you have a champion like Alexander Poeja that took the championship out, that is defending it multiple times, I think the next fight to make is obviously the winner of this fight tomorrow is going to play a big point in the title competition. But I think Amir is going to be next in line. And then when Pantoja and Amir fights, I think the winner of that fight is going to reign a really long time as the flyweight champion.
There you go. So it's gonna be like I said with roll around skills.
Next shift.
Yep. So one of the fights had a really good opportunity because if they're gonna keep it like a standing, though he's having a knockout power, there's gonna be like a substantial time when the fight is on the ground, and there'll be all opportunities to find it out. Whether the performance is very gonna be like really important, but I think it's very itself with well-rounded skills, high fight. IQ, showcasing sort of grappling and striking, but you have to be careful with Brandon Royal. It's very aggressive and will really knock you out.
He almost threw 300 punches in his championship fight.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna swing. He's gonna come forward, and that's what we respect about him.
Yeah, exactly. And I like it to say it about the next shift to say absolutely, Cyan. The fact that the division need to build it out, and now we see they have some dogs right here. It's gonna be like a really important. So next year, fellas, I would love to join us for the UFC 300 card preview. In fact, right now, because before we can wrap it up right here, because I'm gonna do like a great announcement to make it, because tomorrow I'm gonna do a watch party of reactions for the UFC fight night in Mexico City between Rodriguez versus Ortega, and then Moreno versus Royal. Is gonna be since 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So stay tuned for a more important. So it's going to be like a really excited. So we cannot wait. This is going to happen between the fight night in Mexico City, which is mariachi, the land of tacos, tequilas, all the great culture. So you got to stay tuned tomorrow at 10 p.m. What I'm going to do.
Next shift, we'll definitely get you on for that 300 show. Hell yeah. We'll send you a link. Hell yeah. Sorry, Rafael.
Yeah, it is.
I'm just an expert at interrupting people, man. Just can't let you talk. Go right ahead, my man.
Don't worry about that. All right. So right now we just continue. So right now we just wrapped it out right now. So it's been like the second episode of the Combat Club right here with Rafael Chacín, as known as Capitán Rafucho, and my co-host.
No, wait, there's more. Even though you're wrapping it up, we do have to touch on, because of that announcement, what's your thoughts on the main event for UFC 300? We're gonna preview it eventually with next shift on a couple more episodes out as it gets closer. But this week they did drop that gem at that press conference. So I'll let Rafael introduce who's gonna be the main event for UFC 300, and I would love to hear your thoughts before we wrap it up.
All right. So before I have to go for it, because right now the main event is gonna be like a really excited, and a lot of people do know about the spectators. So the main event for the 300 UFC is going to be happening between Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill, because it's not a joke. It's not a joke, because it's going to be like between Alex Pereira, which is the champion from Brazil, versus Jamal Hill from the United States. It is going to be the light heavyweight title bout. And people, they were expecting out for that fight between Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill, because before we just involved in it, because there's a lot of rumors going to change. It was going to be like the main event of the UFC 300. But right now, after the press conference post game right here, they just announced it. Alex Pereira will defend his title against Jamal Hill as number one contender at the light heavyweight title bout in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it's going to be official. So I'm very excited about it, because both fighters, they just create like very entertainment. They had to be careful with Alexander Pereira. He can knock you down.
Yes.
He's very aggressive. So is gonna be defending this title, but I think Alexander Pereira will have this moment right here because he knows about aggression, he knows about striking, he knows about grappling, also for the knockouts. I mean, I'm really excited for both fights right here, including for the main event at 300. So it's gonna be like a really stacked at all.
Oh yeah, you nailed it on the head. I mean, like this is the Hawaiian that's gonna say that Alex Pereira has the best striking in the UFC. I'm sorry, Max Holloway, but Alex Pereira is a dog. I mean, like you don't go in there and you don't knock Izzy out in boxing, and he's a kickboxing champion in two divisions. You don't go in there and you don't box up Sean Strickland. I mean, like the way he boxed up Sean Strickland, you don't see that every day of the week. Okay, when this guy hits you, you fly across the octagon, and what a premier matchup. Then to have the actual champion, in my mind, the guy who shouldn't have, who only lost his title based off an injury, and I believe it was a bad injury. And for him to come back, I believe it was some kind of ACL tear or something like that. For Jamal Hill to come back at UFC 300 is just big for the court, and I don't think people understand like how big Pereira is outside of the country. Like outside of the West, like Pereira is huge in Brazil, in around the world. I mean, like for combat sports, this guy is a cream at the top of the list. I know he hasn't appeared in the UFC for less than 10 fights, but for a short amount of time, us as UFC fans, we obviously know who he is and we respect him. And for what he was accomplished, for what he did accomplish outside of the octagon, all of his fan base is riding with him, right? So when you make a UFC card for this magnitude, you get someone like Conor McGregor, you get someone like Izzy, you get someone like John Jones, and all three of them, there wasn't available. Offered Leon Edwards, shout out to Edwards, getting offered 3 different opponents. He said yes to all of them. I don't know what happened there. His opponents, Dana White did a good job on not throwing them under the bus, but his opponents wasn't ready, and I have a feeling that 2 of those opponents was undefeated fighters that didn't want to put their record on the line without a proper training camp in Chimaev and in Kazmat. I think Kazmat and I think Chimaev is going to be the future of the division. I just think that they wanted a little bit more longer training camp. That's why they denied that fight against Edwards. I mean, like I wouldn't want to go fight against Edwards. That guy's an assassin without a training camp or without at least a proper training camp. They would have a proper training camp, but that's in the past. They denied the fight. The only thing that matters is we got a huge card. We have a huge main event with Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill, and there's no way that this is going to be like a Nagano versus a Derek Lewis. They're going to swing. They're going to try to knock each other out, and it's going to be fun. And all I can ask is let them fight. Let them fight. As much as I respected Pereira beating Yuri's one of my favorite fighters, and I just think Yuri should have had a little bit more time to recover because you've seen what fighters can do with just a little bit more time. And yes, Pereira won that fight clearly against Yuri, but if it ever happens to Jamal Hill, or if Jamal Hill clips Pereira, referees, for the sake of UFC 300, make sure they're really damaged and they really can't continue because, when it comes down to these dogs, they'll get dropped and they'll get right back up and start swinging again. So we'll see what happens with this one. But, hey, man, another great show. Thank you guys all for joining us today. And I'm going to pass it over to my great co-host, Rafael, to end us out here.
All right. So it's been like an amazing episode of the Combat Club. So there will be like more episodes coming out soon for the Combat Club. So you got to stay tuned. And, of course, subscribe to not only me, Rafael Chacín, as known as El Capitán Rafucho, also subscribe to my man, Zenith. And I will there tomorrow night providing the watch party and reactions for the UFC Fight Night in Mexico City. So you cannot miss this. So I appreciated that. And much love to the chat right here. So salute to Next Shift. Also, Chad Schroeder, no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Also, Robert Pena, Navy Bet, Pop Stun, Daniel Berry, Tony Shepard. Much love to the chat. And, of course, salute to everybody else. It's been another episode of the Combat Club with Raphael and Science. So I will see you there next time at the next episode. And let's ring the bell. Let's get it.
Bless up, fam. Go watch the Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's amazing. The Netflix, guys. The Netflix.
Yep. All right.